The racing world exploded when NASCAR announced this partnership. Hardee's, the iconic burger chain that defined NASCAR's glory days in the 1980s and 1990s, is coming back to the sport as the primary sponsor for Bubba Wallace and the number 2311 Racing Toyota. This isn't just another corporate sponsorship announcement. This is a cultural moment that connects NASCAR's legendary past with its uncertain future. Hardee's has been gone from NASCAR for decades, but when you mention that name to any fan over 40, they immediately think of one driver, Cale Yarborough, the three-time champion who drove that famous number 28 Hardee Chevrolet in the mid-1980s. Yarborough won 9 races with Hardee's sponsorship, including back-to-back Daytona 500 victories in 1983 and 1984. Those wins cemented Hardee's as part of NASCAR's DNA. The Hardee's car became iconic. That red and white paint scheme with the star logo was instantly recognizable. When Yarborough crossed the finish line at Daytona in 1984, he became only the second driver in history to win back-to-back 500s. Richard Petty had done it before him, Sterling Marlin would do it later, but Yarborough did it in a Hardee's car. Between 1981 and 1989, Hardee's sponsored cars won 12 Cup Series races. Bobby Allison grabbed 3 wins in 1981, including the Coca-Cola 600. Alan Kulwicki won in 1985. Dale Jarrett scored victories in 1988 and 1989. These weren't mid-pack teams hoping for luck. These were powerhouse operations with proven champions. But then the money dried up. By the early 1990s, Hardee's had pulled out completely. The star logo disappeared from racetracks. An entire generation grew up never seeing a Hardee's car on track until yesterday. The timing couldn't be more perfect. This announcement comes just 5 weeks after 2311, racing settled their antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR. That legal battle dominated headlines for over a year. Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, and Front Row Motorsports sued NASCAR over the charter system, arguing teams were being squeezed financially while NASCAR raked in profits. The lawsuit exposed ugly truths about how the sport operates. Text messages from NASCAR executives calling competitors trash. Financial documents showing teams operating on razor-thin margins. Michael Jordan himself testified that teams needed a bigger slice of revenue just to survive. The case went to trial in December 2025. 8 days of testimony laid bare the tension between NASCAR's leadership and its teams. On December 11th, both sides settled. The teams got their charters back. They secured evergreen agreements that give them long-term stability. They gained a voice in future negotiations. Most importantly, they proved that even in a sport controlled by one family for 78 years, teams could stand up and demand fair treatment. That settlement changed everything. It sent a message to corporate sponsors that NASCAR teams were no longer desperate. They had equity, permanence, and a seat at the table. That's exactly what Hardee's was waiting to see. Think about the timing. 5 weeks after the lawsuit settled, Hardee's announces a multi-year deal. Not a one-year test, a full multi-year partnership that makes them the official quick-service restaurant of NASCAR. They're going all in on Bubba Wallace and 2311 Racing with branding on fire suits, uniforms, equipment, and the car itself. Wallace will debut the Hardee's paint scheme at Martinsville, then race it at multiple events throughout 2026. This is big corporate money flowing back into a sport that desperately needs it. Hardee's operates over 1,600 restaurants across 31 states. They're owned by CKE Restaurants Holdings, the same company that runs Carl's Jr. This isn't some small regional brand. This is a major player with deep pockets making a calculated bet that NASCAR's future is bright. And they're not alone. 2 days before the Hardee's announcement, Xfinity expanded their partnership with 2311 Racing. Xfinity went from a 2-race sponsor in 2025 to becoming the majority primary sponsor for Wallace's number. 23 in 2026, including their first ever Daytona 500 paint scheme. Chumba Casino renewed their deal. Sponsors are lining up, and that's a direct result of the charter settlement. Let's get back to Hardee's, because the nostalgia factor here is off the charts. NASCAR has always been built on tradition. Fans love throwback paint schemes. They lose their minds when a team brings back a classic design from the 1980s or 1990s, and Hardee's has that in spades. That star logo is burned into the memory of every NASCAR fan who watched Cale Yarborough dominate superspeedways. Bubba understands this. In his statement, he said NASCAR is built on legacy. He mentioned that fans know the Hardee's paint schemes of the past, and he's excited to create new memories with longtime and newer fans, respecting the history while pushing the sport forward, honoring Cale Yarborough's legacy while writing his own story. And Bubba Wallace is writing his own story. He finished 11th in the 2025 championship standings. He broke a win drought with a victory at the Brickyard 400. He's got 3 career wins, 28 top 5 finishes, and 60 top 10s in 291 starts. He made history in 2021 as just the second African-American driver to win a Cup Series race. He's one of the most marketable drivers in the sport. 23XI Racing knows what they have. The team was founded by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin in 2020. Jordan brought his business acumen and global brand. Hamlin brought his racing expertise and network. Together, they built a team that won in its first season, expanded to 3 full-time cars, and took on NASCAR in federal court. They're not afraid to make bold moves. The Hardee's deal was facilitated by PMG, the brand's media agency. NASCAR's chief commercial officer Craig Stimmel called Hardee's an American classic with deep roots in the sport. He said the return represents more than a new partnership. It symbolizes the power and appeal of NASCAR's heritage. The paint scheme hasn't been officially revealed yet, but fans are already speculating. Will it be a modern take on the classic red and white design? Will the star logo be prominent on the hood? Will it pay homage to Cale Yarborough's cars from the 1980s? The anticipation is building. Some fans are hoping for a straight throwback that looks like it rolled out of 1984. Others want something fresh that honors the past while looking forward. Either way, social media is going to explode when the first photos drop. Paint scheme reveals have become major events in NASCAR. Fans dissect every detail, compare designs, debate which looks best. With Hardee's history in the sport, expectations are sky high. That's the business angle that matters. Hardee's isn't doing this for nostalgia. They're doing this because NASCAR delivers value. The sport reaches millions of fans every weekend. Those fans are loyal, passionate, and ready to support brands that support their drivers. Hardee's gets to activate at major events, engage fans through their My Rewards loyalty program, and collaborate with 23XI Racing on digital and social campaigns. The NASCAR commercial chief was right when he said legacy brands are looking to NASCAR to connect with loyal, multi-generational fan bases. Younger fans who never saw Cale Yarborough race will see the Hardee's car and think it looks cool. Older fans will see it and remember the glory days. Everyone wins. This announcement also sends a message to other potential sponsors. If Hardee's is willing to come back after decades away, what other heritage brands might follow? The door is wide open. Brands like STP, Tide, Kodak, and Winston built NASCAR. They walked away when the economics didn't make sense. But if the charter settlement creates stability and Hardee's proves the value is still there, more could return. That would be transformational for a sport chasing new corporate money while its heritage brands faded. Bottom line, this is a massive moment for NASCAR. Hardee's coming back as a primary sponsor for Bubba Wallace, and 23XI Racing proves that big corporate money still sees value in the sport. The timing, just 5 weeks after the charter lawsuit settlement, shows that stability matters. Sponsors want to know that teams will be around for the long haul. Now they have that assurance. The 2026 season starts with the Clash at Bowman Gray on February 1st, followed by the Daytona 500 on February 15th. Bubba Wallace will debut the Hardee's car at Martinsville later in the season. And when he does, NASCAR fans will get to witness history repeating itself. A legendary sponsor returning to support a driver making his own legacy. That's the story. That's why this matters, and that's why everyone in NASCAR is talking about it right now.